My name is Carmen Phillips, and today I'm going to be presenting to you on the benefits of incorporating literature into a subject. So more specifically, I'm going to be talking about incorporating literature into a humanities class. And for those of you that don't know, humanities is an interdisciplinary curriculum of integrating social studies and language arts. So I'd like to begin with a quote, and it's by Albert Camus, and he is a Nobel Prize winner in literature, and he says that fiction is the lie through which we tell the truth. And I think this quote really conveys what I want my presentation as well as my paper to say, and that it's that while fiction is fake and it's made up, it's also very real because the things that happen in these novels are very realistic and they evoke emotions, and they're things that you don't get from textbooks, and that's very important. So just keep that in mind with you today as you listen to my presentation. So just to give you a little rundown of what I'm going to be talking about today, first I'm going to introduce the literature that I chose for my lesson plan, and then I'm going to go on to discuss the Common Core standards that my lesson plan revolves around, and then I will talk about how I'm implementing the literature into my lesson plan, and then I will conclude everything. So to begin, these are the 3 books that I chose to revolve my lesson plan around. So the first one is Chains by Lori Halse Anderson. Now this book is about 2 adolescent sisters that are enslaved, and it's their fight to freedom. So I think that this book really provides a realistic portrayal of the harshness that slaves endured, and that is really important for the students to get a feel for. Because when they read the word slavery in a textbook, that's not going to evoke a lot of feeling and emotion, and they're not really going to understand how harsh it really was. So I think that book will do a good job of that. And then the second book that I chose was Iron Thunder by Adi. So this is another realistic fiction novel, and it is about a 13-year-old boy named Tom. Tom loses his father in a fight in the Civil War. His father fights for the Union side. So his father dies, and Tom is forced to get a job to support his family. So he gets a job working for an iron steel industry, and when he does that, he finds that they're building a ship, and the ship is going to be used to fight the South in the war. And before he knows it, some spies from the South are coming to him and offering him money in exchange for facts about the ship. So then he's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. Does he give them information about the ship to earn money for his family, which is struggling, or does he potentially get killed by the spies? So you'll have to read to find out. But I think that book does a good job of kind of portraying the average civilian's life, what people that weren't in the war went through during this time, and that's also very important. And the second one, so I took a little different route. It's a biography, so it is a creative nonfiction book, and it is about Abraham Lincoln. So I chose this because Abraham Lincoln is a very important figure in the Civil War. He's a huge advocate for ending slavery, and I think it's important for students to see that. So this will help them develop opinions about Abraham Lincoln, which is really important. Whereas, like I said before, if they just see his name in a textbook, they're probably not going to remember who he is a couple weeks later, whereas I think this will help them to remember. So I just want to say a quote that pertains to this and kind of backs up everything I'm saying, and it is by Emily Klein. She's the assistant professor of curriculum at Montclair University. She says that literature is a powerful tool for integrating and highlighting voices from the past, especially those of children, minorities, women, and the poor, that may not generally be heard or read by students in their historical studies. And I think all of these books do a really nice job of highlighting those voices. So with that being said, I would just like to share the Common Core standards that my lesson will revolve around, which I'm going to share with you in a minute. So according to the Ohio Department of Education Content Standards, this is the social studies standard I chose for 8th grade, and that is disputes over the nature of federalism complicated by economic developments in the United States resulted in sectional issues, including slavery, which led to the American Civil War. So this is the content standard the students are learning about the Civil War. And then secondly, also from the Ohio Department of Education Content Standards, is the English Language Arts one. And that is citing textual evidence that most strongly supports an analysis of what the text says explicitly, as well as inferences drawn from the text. So you will see examples of these content standards being utilized throughout. Okay, so now to talk about my lesson plan. So my students will read a textbook. So they will do a chapter out of the textbook based on the Civil War. So all of the students in my class will read a chapter on the Civil War. And then in addition to that, I will divide the class into 3 groups. So I will do 3 groups of 5. And each of the groups will be assigned one of the literature novels. So for example, the first group will read Chains, the second group will read Iron Thunder, and the third group will read Abraham Lincoln. Now the books that I assign them will correlate with their assigned section in the chapter. So in addition to assigning them a literature novel, I will assign them a specific section in the chapter to really focus on. So then at the end of the lesson, the students will have to do a presentation. And in their presentation, they will have to incorporate the content standards, so they will cite evidence from the literature as well as from the textbook. And I will kind of stress that the significance of this presentation to them, because not all of their classmates read the book that their group read, so it's their responsibility to really share with their classmates the theme of their book, their opinions on the book, what they got from the book, and things like that. So that will also be my way of assessing them and really getting a feel for how well they understood what we learned in the Civil War. So according to the United Federation of Teachers, students who believe that they will have to teach material to others remember more information than students who are told that their learning will be measured by a test. So that is kind of that backs up why I think it is important to give a presentation rather than a paper pencil test, because I think they will retain more having the responsibility to teach their classmates. So in conclusion, I think that literature is really important because it does a good job. It has the power to make someone feel, and I think that feeling is how we learn best. I don't know about you, but I know I've made mistakes in my life, and I kind of like to do this little comparison. So when you make a mistake, I think there's often a lot of feelings associated with that, and you learn from your mistakes. And it's the same with literature. There's a lot of feelings associated with literature, and that is how we learn best. So I think the feelings give the students something to associate the factual information with. So that's why it is important to incorporate literature, and I think it works really well in many subjects. And that being said, here are my works cited and my image attributions. Does anyone have any questions? Thank you for watching.